Everybody, Dr. Diane, your libido doc here. We're talking about what happens to your vagina, what happens to your vulva, what happens to all the feminine tissues if you don't have sex for a while. The bigger thing with this is not having sex for a while combined with age. Because what winds up happening with age is our tissues all around our body, they begin to atrophy if we don't use them, right? We can get our muscles that are not building up as much if we're not going to the gym, if we're not staying active. Well, the same thing is true for the muscles of the pelvic floor, the muscles that are in the vulva, the vagina, and the entirety of the structures of the female anatomy, right? If we're not using these muscles, if we're not exercising these muscles, if we're not stretching these muscles, just like anything with our body, we can get problems, right? We can start to find that the tissue starts to not be as elastic, where it doesn't move as much, and we can get pain. We can actually see that the tissue starts to shrink. I had a friend, I've been talking about this more because I think it's a really important point. I have a friend who has recently done a cadaver lab where they were focusing on the fascia, this connective tissue of the body. And with that, what she found, because they were looking at all body parts, is that some women had a completely, basically non-existent clitoris, that all the clitoris and structure of the clitoris largely disappeared in this woman, right? So there is an element where if we don't keep these muscles happy, if we don't use these muscles, if we don't do activity that is stretching, relaxing the muscles, if we're not sending blood flow to the tissues, then that tissue is just not going to be as healthy. And it can further potentially even be related, the whole pelvic floor and utilizing the whole pelvic floor can be related to things that happen, such as urinary incontinence. So we want to consider all of those things. At this point, I definitely feel like it is a very important thing for women, especially throughout life, but especially as we age and get into the perimenopause, menopause years, to own a vibrator. Some vibrators are now FDA medically approved devices because of their ability to send blood to the tissue, right? Their ability to help that restore that tissue tone, because now we have more blood flowing. That keeps the muscles more elastic, where they move better. That decreases things like pelvic pain. So yes, there is an element where if we are not engaged sexually, especially combined with age, we're going to lose some of these benefits, these health benefits. We're even seeing some studies that are pointing to sex helping with things like memory. But that's no surprise because it helps with so many hormones. It helps decrease stress through the release of oxytocin. When it does that, we know that the memory centers of our brain, they work better. So it's really not surprising, right, that we can see that link sometimes between sex and memory. So when we're saying what's going to happen with your vagina when you're not having sex, that's a really important question. But the other question here is what's going to happen to other body parts too, right? What's going to happen when we're not releasing those hormones that are keeping us healthy and happy, that are keeping us motivated, the hormones like serotonin and dopamine, right? So we have all these hormones that are flooding our body and reducing stress. So yes, we can potentially see some changes in time, especially with age, without having sex. Now, of course, sex is not the only way to keep those muscles healthy and happy in tone, but it is one way. And if we're not having sex, then it is really important for females to actually be utilizing other methodologies, such as vibrators that are FDA, like I said, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are FDA approved just because of the research that we're seeing behind them with keeping that tissue tone super healthy. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Please do check out my libido quiz. In my libido quiz, you're going to be able to take this quiz to see the root causes of why you're having low libido. And guess what? It's not just hormones. I'm your libido doc, Dr. Diane. I hope you will subscribe, and I'll see you another time.